Philip Glass came on tour with the Bang on a Can All-Stars in the year of 2004 because we had just re-recorded some of his very early works. So he joined us on tour to kind of promote the sale of that CD, and so we met. That's when we originally met, and he had liked my playing and had said that he was going to write me a piece. I didn't really believe it, but he's like, well, we're going to find something to do together. We're going to find some project to do. I'm going to write a cello piece or something for you. So then I would run into him occasionally at different events in New York, around New York for the next year. And ultimately I got a phone call from him saying that he indeed had started writing a piece for me. So I was, very excited, and he originally wrote this piece for cello and voice to be recorded to accompany a small documentary film. And so we did the recording. We made the recording for the movie about 2 or 3 weeks after I got that initial phone call from him. And then after making the film, it was basically, this cello piece with vocal kind of doublings. So after we did the movie, Philip said, and I agreed, that it would be very easy to kind of take that piece and make it into a cello piece, a concert piece for the cello alone, simply by adding the vocal part as a double stop, in the cello writing and the string writing. So that's how it started, and so we met a few times and met with the score, worked with the score, and decided like how long the piece should be, what kind of form the piece should take on, blah, blah, blah. And in those conversations, in those meetings, the cello piece then took on its own life and became a completely different piece from what we thought it would be originally. So it turned out to be a 7-movement, 35-minute piece instead of about maybe 12-minute piece, which we thought it would be. And the piece was completed probably about a year from that date, not because he spent a year writing it, but because he was unsure about how long he wanted it, and the 7th movement, which is the last movement, came about a month before the actual premiere of the piece. So, so within that year of collaborating on this piece and things, then Philip and I developed a strong friendship, and and also within that year became more knowledgeable about all of the wealth of his repertoire and his symphonic writing, his string quartet writing, his more classical, I guess, the classical form, the kind of stuff he was writing for orchestras, string quartets, solo instruments, operas, things that I wasn't so aware of before. I had always associated him with just kind of mostly movies or the really early minimalistic stuff that he was doing. So actually, when we were touring with Bang on a Can, Philip brought the recording of the cello concerto to me, and he said, you should hear this, and so I listened to it, and I thought it was great, but I never really imagined at that time that I would have an opportunity to play it, because it's very hard to program a piece. Usually as a soloist, the orchestra or the presenter is deciding what they want you to play. So this is a very unique opportunity where I can actually say, hey, look, I've got this thing, and to have the conductor and the orchestra agree. So the piece had only been performed in, I think, New Zealand, Scotland, and China. And Philip had never attended any of those performances, so this is his first time hearing the piece as well.
Does that make you nervous at all?
No, no.
I don't think so.
It's really exciting, it's very exciting to be in a place of playing something for the first time. And Philip loves the piece. I love the piece. I think the audience will love the piece. So, no, it's exciting. It's like to show something for the first time is exciting. Nobody has any, preconceived ideas of how the melody should go, how the tempi should go. I don't think in our little culture. I mean, the piece isn't very well known, especially in America, since it hasn't been played here. And you know, Philip had very, I mean, even when the piece was being prepared for the premiere, his relationship with the cellist who commissioned it was very minimal since they were living on the opposite sides of the ocean. And so when Philip and I were studying the piece again, listening to the piece, the concerto, together this summer, you know, he turned to me and he was like, I wrote a really good piece. This is a really good piece, you know. He'd kind of forgotten about it, you know. And I was like, yeah, it's good, it's good. It's gonna have a long life in the cello repertoire, so. As a, you know, classically trained musician, it has everything we like. We like the form, we see the architecture, you see the architecture, you see the balance, or you see the symmetry or the lack of symmetry, and then you have the emotional, obviously the huge emotional pool that's right there in his music, and just immediately tugs at, you know, your heart and your being, which is very, very attractive in music. And yeah, I mean, I think it's a, you know, it's kind of a perfect balance of those two things. When you look at Schubert's music or Beethoven's music, and you know, I often compare Philip's music to Schubert because it has this kind of beautiful time frame, but there's always a little room for tug and pull in the music, and like Schubert's impromptus and Philip's piano etudes remind me of Schubert's music and his symphonies, and even though his last symphony reminds me of Bruckner. I sometimes tease him and say that he's like a modern minimalistic Bruckner. You know, well, Bruckner was kind of a minimalist as well. You know, expanded, and Schubert did that too, extended things on and on. So, yeah, I mean, I didn't know any of Philip's like string quartets or his violin concerto. I didn't know any of these kind of classical works. His Third Symphony, which is a string symphony. I didn't know any of these pieces until I became close with him. And you know, these are phenomenal, phenomenal works. They kind of honor the tradition, I think. So, you know, like I said before, it feels familiar, so it feels comfortable because that tradition's there, and then the emotional content and the structure and the counterpoint. I mean, it's great music. I mean, so I kind of came to his music later in my career. I mean, my playing classical music all my life, you don't often play a piece of Philip Glass's, you know. The cliche is that you think of him as doing the early minimalist stuff, the keyboard stuff. I mean, this is what I thought, or I thought of Koyaanisqatsi, the movies, and you know, we were having a meeting in his office about the cello piece, and he said to me, you know, you don't really get good at writing operas until you've written about 18. And I thought he was joking. I didn't realize that he had actually written 18 when I was written like 24 operas, you know. So then I went home and did my homework, and yeah, so I mean, he's highly prolific, as we all know, and I think this music that he's writing, like the cello, the new solo piece for the cello, the cello concerto, the string quartets, all these things are going to absolutely last for centuries to come as some of the really great string writing. You know, he writes so well for the string instruments, for the violin, for the cello, and you know, like I said before, I had always associated him with being more of a keyboard writer or a film a person writing film scores, but his string writing is phenomenal. String quartets are great, and his Third Symphony, the string symphony, is right up there with like one of the Dvorak serenades, and it's fantastic. Counterpoint, fugal writing, and so yeah. Well, Philip has all of that in his training too. I mean, he had the very kind of conservative Juilliard and Nadia Boulanger, very conservative training, and it's all there. It's all in the tradition's all there, you know. So yeah, I guess that's basically why I like it. I mean, I don't know if that answers the question.
Not very well.
It's a big question.
It is a big question.
I mean, the music also really moves me, and I think that's something to be said. I react to music that speaks to me, and Philip's music definitely speaks to me, and as I think as it does to a lot of people, you know. I felt like when I first came here, you know, Steve had explained to me the situation that it was kind of a community orchestra mixed with students of the university and things, and so, you know, so okay, well, we'll see how that goes and everything. And we had the first rehearsal, and it was just kind of like a reading, like what we just did now. And then the second rehearsal, I said, okay, I'm gonna play with them like I would play if I was playing, I don't know, not a professional orchestra so much because, I shouldn't say that, but a lot of times professional orchestras wouldn't respond the same way that this orchestra did, you know. So I was like, well, okay, you know, this isn't a professional level orchestra, but let's just go with emotion. So I just took that second rehearsal and just tried to, you know, stimulate them with pure, you know, engaging them with my playing and things, and they responded so quickly and so beautifully that I felt like I was put in this little cradle, and it was just being held. Every little move I made with playing they were right there, and that's a very, you know, unique experience to have in my 25 years of playing, you know. But there was no resistance to reacting and going with what I wanted to do and nourishing what I was doing, and then they kind of, you know, popped to life. I mean, their playing jumped up to, I would say, probably better than a lot of the professional orchestras I've played with because of that kind of play that we had together. And so it was very memorable and very special to have that kind of attention and listening and response in their playing, and it was very organic and very pure, kind of innocent, you know. So I felt like this was the place to do the premiere, you know, for the cello concerto, because they're so malleable. You can kind of try things, you know. It's like being in a big candy store. You can take what you want and everything's, you know, and try everything, and they're willing to, you know, try things. They don't have any. They're not jaded. They don't sit on that stage and come to rehearsals every day for, you know, all year.
It's like an avocation.
And they don't hate their conductor, and they don't hate their union. Steve was the original percussionist in Bang on a Can, and when I joined the ensemble, he was still there, and that's how we met originally. And he retired probably 2 or 3 years into my stay with the group. And yeah, so we probably performed 100 concerts together. And then when he retired, we stayed close friends. He's my daughter's godfather, so we stayed very close. And Steve was a huge inspiration in Bang on a Can, because I remember thinking that this was a guy who, I mean, you see the amount of works that he's commissioned, you know, and that he's actually made a living playing new music. And I had no interest in my career playing new music, you know, until I joined Bang on a Can. I wasn't doing new music. And so he was really a weirdo when I met him, because I didn't even know that there were guys out there that could make a living playing new music and that would want to make a living playing new music. And he was so responsible for, you know, such a majority of the repertoire that's written for solo percussion. So I found that incredibly enticing, that someone could have a career like that, you know, and be so responsible for his instrument, I mean, for his vocation, by creating all this repertoire, you know. So I haven't been so lucky. I mean, there's been a few pieces written for me, but it was inspiring to meet Steve. I'm not only because of his great musicianship, but to see the kind of responsibility and the initiative that he's taken in his life as a musician, you know, and not just waiting for the phone to ring and going and playing concerts. You know, he creates projects, he creates concerts, he creates pieces, you know, and then now becoming a conductor is even more exciting. You know, I think Steve's going to have a good career as a conductor.